When they asked me to come speak, the only thing that I really thought I could start with was to say that I shouldn't be here. Like literally, I should not be here. Because I applied to go to Syracuse out of high school, but with my grades, I'm pretty sure that should have been the first clue that I was more than delusional. Because I could not get into anywhere. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible before security busts through the door out here. That's not the only reason I shouldn't be here, though. There's another reason that I shouldn't be here. And that is that if you ask most programmers in radio today, they would tell you that I'm a fluke. Like Hal said, I host a morning show that is on in over 40 markets now. We've seen record rating success in Seattle, its home base. We've gone into markets and unseated their heritage morning shows in less than 90 days in some instances. But still, there's a lot of programmers who don't get it, and that's fine. I only brought this up to say that radio has changed a lot since its inception. It's changed a lot in like the last 10 years. Because the days of competing with other radio stations are over. Now you have streaming services, you have podcasts, you got Instagram, Facebook. I don't want to know what's going on in MySpace, but I'm sure there's some people who check that out from time to time. I mean, I watch Netflix when I drive sometimes. I know it's not safe, but I do. There's a lot of other things out there. No longer are you just competing with radio. And my point is, finding your audience now and getting your audience to want to come back for more is harder than ever. And when people ask me about my career, they're usually surprised by my answer. I tend to speak very honestly all the time. And I'm not saying other people don't, I'm just saying that I can only speak from my experience. And my career can only be summed up by one word, and that word is frustrating. It's not to say that it hasn't been a cool ride or I haven't enjoyed it, because it's possible to be frustrated and happy at the same time. I say that because radio is a tough business. And the first 3 years in the industry were great. I got to learn from, in my opinion, one of the best hosts that I've ever seen. His name was Tony Bruno, and it was for the Fox Sports Radio Network.
Tony Bruno.
You know Tony Bruno?
Oh, keep talking.
All right, I'll keep talking.
You gave me a story.
His co-host was Andrew Siciliano, who's actually an alumni here. He works on the Red Zone channel for the NFL. Great dude. But Tony was a great example for me. He taught me to be authentic and not one-dimensional on the air, and that letting your voice shine through is the way to set yourself apart. Because we're in sports radio, where everybody talks about the same thing. It's just how you tell it. And the same thing works for every form of radio. We all talk about the same stuff, but it's how you say it that makes it different than somebody else. And off air though, I learned the most valuable thing from him. I learned what makes a great leader. Because before I came to the network, I did 6 months in prison. Well, small radio station in Stockton, California. But I'm pretty sure prison would be easier. But I left there to go back to LA, where I'm from, after 6 months of entertaining cows. And I got a job on his morning show as an associate producer. And then the network decided to lay off all the associate producers, so I was going to be fired. But him, the anchor of the station, a guy who was probably making millions of dollars at the time, threatened to quit if they didn't keep me on. And so they kept me. I was the only associate producer allowed to stay on the network, and that was because of him. And I remembered that, and I worked my ass off for him. He taught me the value of being a nice, stern, and caring leader, and giving your support staff the respect that they deserve. He taught me the value of being a producer. Because producers in radio and support staff in radio are a lot of times treated like glorified interns, and they're not. He taught me that producers have value and they're important. After I was working there, I went over to Seattle to work on a morning show as a producer and a third mic. And honestly, I had hoped it would just be a pit stop. I had hoped that I could get on the air so that somebody would hear me and give me my own show. And I learned in that situation too. I learned there to be unwavering in my voice. Because I wanted my own show. And the show that I was on there was not my style. I frankly didn't like it. I didn't like the content they did, but I learned how to still be me on a show with content that I didn't really like and a format that I didn't really like. I learned how to be me. Now I was me in that content for 7 long years, but I was there for a while learning how to not falter when it comes to my voice. And I was actually literally a month away from just giving it up and moving back to LA to focus on my stand-up career because I was frustrated and nobody would give me a shot. And that's when I got a call from Maynard, who Hal talked about. Some of you might know who he is, some of you might not. But he's got a great reputation in the industry for finding talent. And I can list a lot of things that I like about him. And I'm sure he could list 1 or 2 things that he likes about me, and probably like a million things he thinks I do wrong, but that's fine. But what separates him from the rest of the programmers that I've known is that he truly takes risks on people. He's a risk taker. Now, he's the kind of guy that might like talk himself in and out of taking a risk a million times and need like research to take a risk, but he'll eventually take that risk. And he jumps. He's one of the few people in the business that takes a chance on talent. He'll pluck a guy with little hosting experience out of a hardcore rock station and put him in middays on a top 40 station and win. It's impressive. And he gave me a shot to host the show that I do now. Now sure, I did email him every week for almost an entire year. And he did have a lot of research before he made his decision. But he did make a decision. And if you ask him today, he'll probably tell you I'm a terrible host. And you know what? He's right. He's absolutely right. But he also knew that there was something about me that would resonate. And he was right. When I describe my career as frustrating, it's because I always wanted to have my own show. I knew that I could be good, I knew it could be funny, I knew it could be entertaining, but I'm not a good host. I've never cared about hitting a post on a song. I never cared about just talking over a post on a song. I've never cared about giving my opinion if I think a song is terrible. I cough, I sneeze, I clear my throat into the microphone on a daily basis. I misspeak without regret. I don't care if I say something wrong. I don't. I have an inability to do hype. I'm in top 40 radio where you're supposed to be hyped up all the time. I completely have an inability to do hype. As a matter of fact, when a winner calls up and just wants to scream about winning something the whole time, I find it very annoying. And also it's loud and I got sensitive ears. So no, I'm not a good host. I don't take being a host seriously, but I do take entertainment and being an entertainer seriously. That's my voice. That's the authentic part of me that my listeners seem to enjoy. And throughout my time in the business, I've been told no time and time again, trying to get my own show. I don't have what it takes to be a host. I lack energy. I'm too new. I don't have what it takes to resonate with women. I don't have what it takes to relate to men. I'm not rock enough. I'm not hip hop enough. I'm too quiet of a person in person. How would my personality shine behind a mic? Just no for a long time. But I didn't stop. And not because I didn't want to, or because of like a magical passion for radio. I know that's weird to say in this setting, but I didn't stop because I have an unquenchable thirst to prove people wrong. That's why I didn't stop. Radio alone didn't keep me in it to knock those walls down of all the no's. Wanting to prove people wrong did. And that's also my voice too. It's very immature. that my quest to like just show everybody that they think the right way to do something is the wrong way for me, or just make a mockery of them and what they think the right way is. It's very immature, but it's my voice. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I know there are a lot of people in here who already are in the industry. Some people in here even run entire broadcast corporations, and you probably wrote my name down with a note next to it that says, "Do not hire this guy." But there are some people who are just about to start their journey. And some people that have they've been in radio as long as I have, and maybe they just need a reminder. It's called a reset in the business, by the way, reset. What I wanted to say was that when people say that due to all the other content being created out there, radio is dead, they're wrong. If you look at the statistics, they're wrong. If you look at the way people consume content, the naysayers are misguided. Radio is very much thriving, and it's actually more exciting now than ever before because there's a multitude of angles to it. No longer is it just an audio format. You have to be on point vocally, visually, digitally. There's a lot more ways to create, and that's exciting. It's also more competitive than ever before. I hear complaints from people about how radio has changed, but in my opinion, it's changed for the better. The days of just turning on a microphone and talking about what you had for breakfast are gone. Content is king nowadays, and you have to put in work into the content that you put on your show. One thing that has always bothered me about the entertainment industry is how other forms of media like TV and movies like to discredit radio as an art form. And I think that that's because all they hear is people talking. And if they're right about that, then sure, they're right, if that's just what it is. But radio now, because of the fact that we have to compete with so many things and we have to work so hard on content, is actually turning back in to what it originally started as. A form of entertainment that people work really hard writing things, creating ideas, theater of the mind. You know? It's turning back into what it was, and I think that's very exciting. And I get a lot of flack for how much prep we do on our show. People love to say that the only reason I've seen success is because me and my staff prepare lines, write intros and teases, write details to segments in script form. And if you're saying that's the only reason I'm successful, you're also right. I have no doubt that I'm good. I'm confident. I've always been confident. Sure, I could probably go on a mic and just talk and do okay. But I've never wanted to do okay. I've never wanted to be good, I wanted to be great. And why would I go in without a plan? I respect the art form of radio, and I respect the audience way too much to just open up a mic and go without some kind of plan. The improv and the looseness of live radio is what colors in the lines. And that's what really brings the story to life. When people make that knock against me, I usually ask them one question. I go, do you like Jimmy Kimmel? And then they say, yeah, most of the time. If they say no, then I'll choose another late night host and eventually find one I like. And then they say, yeah, and then I go, all right, cool. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think Jimmy Kimmel goes out there for his opening monologue every night unprepared? Or do you think that he wrote it and edited it to be the best it could possibly be? And then they look at me silently, and I drop a fake microphone and I skip off. honestly, I was truly honored when they asked me to speak here because I wanted to make those points to people in the business and people looking to get started. I wanted to say that radio is very much alive, and I wanted to hopefully inspire people to think a little differently about the approach. Because radio is an old art form now. It's been around a long time. So if you've done something once, somebody else has already done it twice before you. In order to innovate, you have to be original. And you might be asking yourself, hey, Jubal, you just said in order to innovate, you have to be original, but you also said there's no original idea, so how are you going to do that? You might also be asking yourself, why did he say that in that voice? I can only answer one of those questions. I have no idea why I do that. How do you innovate in an industry that's pretty much done everything? It's by finding your voice. It's by finding your voice and believing in your voice and compromise without compromising who you want to be. We're all individuals, and that's what sets us apart. Before every segment, I always ask myself this question. I say, who am I? Who do I want to be in this segment? Am I over it? Am I angry? Am I making a point? How will I leave this segment feeling good about the way that I was? And who did I show people? That's how you innovate. You listen to your voice and you let it shine. Whether you're a producer or someone who creates imaging or programming, what's your spin? What's your style? That's where innovation happens. Innovation happens by using the gift that you've been given that nobody else has, your individuality and your voice. I shared stories of a couple people who influenced me in my career so far, and if you noticed, I talked about the things they did that most people don't do. Tony Bruno was authentic and funny for sure, but he also used his voice of being a caring dude to show a young guy getting into the industry how to take advantage of the tools you're given by showing your staff that they matter. Maynard is great at programming, but his spin on things is following his voice, the one in his gut that allows him to find and nurture new talent and not hire the same old retreads and standbys. I explained my voice a little bit. And who am I? I'm a guy that has a chip on his shoulder all the time. I have a problem with authority and social norms. And I enjoy making people uncomfortable by saying loudly what most people only say on their inner dialogue. I'm a guy that takes a lot of pride in not conforming. And I'm a person who has to speak truthfully so that I can feel okay in my own skin. That's why, at an event to celebrate you guys and to celebrate radio, I described my career as frustrating. Because normally, you should describe your career with only glowing adjectives in a setting like this. And if I didn't describe it like that, I'd be lying to you. And I can't be a liar. Even if something's hard to say or it leaves me raw and vulnerable, my voice has to be authentic and truthful all the time. That's what I do differently when it comes to my approach. My show doesn't do a whole lot of personal content. And people are always critiquing it for that. And the reason that we don't is because, frankly, I find life pretty boring most of the times. And I don't find my life that interesting. But what consultants and other people who give it negative marks for not fitting in their box fail to notice is that being authentic isn't simply talking about your life. Being authentic means knowing your voice and choosing every word and every sentiment that comes out of your mouth carefully and skillfully so that you can protect your voice by making sure it feels right. The people I mentioned before and myself, we innovate by using our voice. The key to innovating in an industry that has been around for so long isn't just based on new technology and ideas. The key to being an innovator isn't reinventing the wheel, it's inventing you. So I'll leave you with two things before I go. First, find your voice and let it lead you. And if you've been working in the industry for a while and you've lost your voice, find it again. And second, like I said, I always wanted to go to this school. But I didn't have the grades to go anywhere. I don't have a college degree. Like, I shouldn't have even applied to a community college, really. But tonight, I'm speaking at a highly respected university with one of the most sought-after communications departments in the country. And that's why I decided to make myself an honorary degree. I made it when I was on the plane. It says Super Mega Official Syracuse University honorary degree for Jubal Flagg. Yay, good job. Thanks a lot, you guys.